Let's do this already. Hey, what's up, guys? Node Investor here. How's everyone doing on this wonderful Tuesday, tax day in the US, bull market, altcoin rally day? Hope everyone is doing well. Thanks for being here. Thanks for joining this stream. I know you guys were waiting, and we are excited to get to it. So today I'm going to cover a few news items very quickly. I know there's plenty of other channels that will go over all of the daily news for you guys, so I don't intend to do a full news hour, but I'll cover a few notable items, and we will talk charts. We'll look at a few things that I'm liking here, some recap, some review, some calls that I have made, some thoughts that I have shared, and see how it's all playing out. But what do you guys think? Is 6,000 the low, or are we going to go lower than 6,000 in 2018? So just want to get your thoughts. If for those of you that missed it, and I keep talking about it just because it got a lot of views and it was out there for a lot of good comments, but I mentioned in a video a few weeks back talking about how I thought Bitcoin would bottom in April, why I arrived to that number, and the ballpark was kind of in that 6K to 5,500 range, and looks like it might be happening, but we'll see. It's interesting to see, it was even just a few weeks ago, right? The sentiment was so bearish. I mean, everyone was depressed. Anybody who didn't sell over the last couple of months was feeling the pain, throwing in the towel, selling at the lows. Alts are dead. Bitcoin's dead. The media said it was dead. And I would post anything bullish, and the amounts of comments that I got, negative comments about how can you be bullish and you're crazy and it's going to 1,300 was kind of funny, but it kind of led me to we were getting close, just because it's just normal group psychology, right? There's the contrarian indicators, and it was the complete opposite at 19,000, 17,000 when I posted a video about did the bubble burst, and oh man, the negative comments I saw there just led me to believe, yeah, we were going to see some more downside. And now it's the opposite, right? I'm posting some positive stuff over the last couple of weeks, and people were just going crazy over it. So good times, man. I love you guys. Appreciate y'all all being here. This has been quite the journey, and it continues to be fun. So I'll post an official poll on Twitter after this stream to see what you guys all think, and we'll go from there. I did one in one of my groups, and it was probably about 25% still believed that that we were going to see lower prices before the end of the year. So hey, it's not like it's a full consensus one way or the other, but it's just interesting to see that there's finally a lot of videos coming out, other YouTubers talking about maybe we've hit the low, maybe that was the low. And so all in all, I'll take it. We all want this bear market to be over and the low to be in. So here's what I'm going to cover today, the names that I posted, and then I will go ahead and share some more. So I'll be doing Bitcoin, ETH, Litecoin, Cardano, Neo, EOS, Binance, NCASH, AION, Lisk, QuantStamp, Icon, Tron, and yes, your guys' favorite, Verge, and a whole bunch of other names that have hit my attention here over the last couple of hours, but we'll be doing that. First, some quick news. So you guys have probably already heard about this. Coinbase buys Earn.com. And, they paid $100 million for Earn.com. Doesn't sound like a really good deal if you ask me, but what do I know? Maybe they got some bigger plans for this company, but it sounds like they paid a lot of money for their first CTO to come on board. So the CEO of Earn.com, founder, will now be the new CTO joining Coinbase. And so $100 million, we'll see where that goes. Earn.com has pivoted quite a bit, made a lot of changes over the last couple of years, but they have some big investors, which makes it notable. There's been a lot of big VCs that have invested into Earn.com over the years. So we'll see where this goes, but Coinbase spending money, and This one is not so funny, kind of sad, a little bit of a maybe conspiracy theories, but there was the hack. I'm sure all of you guys have already heard. Ian Bellina was hacked during a live stream, apparently. And here's the thing to note. I mean, whether you believe this was true or not, I think it was. I mean, why would you blame that? I know they're saying you're maybe trying to avoid taxes and all that fun stuff. And sure, that could be a case. But if this is true, which it sounds like it is, the thing to learn from this, guys, is security, right? That is still the biggest risk when it comes to crypto. I mean, yes, there's volatility, there's counterparty risk, there's a lot of things, exchanges can get hacked and all that, but security at the end of the day, right? Because it's so electronic and the nature of blockchain and the way it works with the private keys in your wallets and all that, that if anybody has access to those private keys, then you're going to lose the coin. So simple as that. Use a hardware wallet. I mean, you can go to the extremes in paper wallets and generating all that stuff, but at minimum, guys, do not put electronic versions of your private keys anywhere on the internet, whether it's in a cloud-based service or an app, or if it's encrypted. Just don't do it. Go old school, write it down, save copies somewhere. There's different ways to do it. You can even do, clean USBs and all that. But I'm just the paranoid type. I wouldn't trust any third party or any app. I don't care how reputable with my keys, right? I mean, the most I'll do is trusting maybe some exchanges to hold coin while I'm trading, but that's it. I'm not going to trust anybody else to guard my private keys. And that's just crazy. If that's true, sucks, but big lesson learned. And it's the Twitter sphere is going crazy. I'm already seeing the funny memes and the Evernote memes. And man, you guys gave Ian about 2 hours before you said, all right, let's jump on this and start kicking him while he's down. But yeah, that's pretty significant, though, if that's really the way it happened. And I don't wish that upon anybody. Tax day. So here in the United States, today, April 17th, is tax day. It is the day we all pay our dues. If you haven't already, any income taxes that you owe, capital gains taxes. And so this has been in the news because of the big year that we had in crypto last year. And a lot of the traders, a lot of the people that were cashing out near the top, myself included, were paying some significant taxes this year. And it's unfortunately part of the game. There's different regulations. There's different ways to legally shelter tax gains and all that fun stuff, business write-offs. And it varies by country, of course. Some are worse than others. But this was probably the most unclear asset to pay taxes on. There is just no clear regulation, no clear guidance. They want to tax you on if you got paid in crypto, if you paid with crypto, if you traded crypto, if you hodled crypto, and now if you're doing crypto to crypto, it's just insane. And so the notion was there was probably a lot of headwinds in the market because those that made a ton last year were having to sell at the lows to pay for taxes from prior years. And I know personally, some of you guys have reached out to me, and it's been painful, right? I mean, you guys have been down quite a bit on the accounts, and now you're having to sell what little you have left to pay for taxes. And that's unfortunate. It's crazy. I had a big surprise myself. I put the checks in the mail yesterday. They were very large checks. And so I was not a happy camper going to the bank to get those, but I didn't sell any crypto to fund that. I raised funds from other sources, and I waited to the last minute. Of course, I'm not going to give the IRS my money any minute sooner than I absolutely have to. So, but it's over. We'll see if that has any sort of ramifications on the broader market in the intermediate term. Maybe a lot of people were thinking after tax day we were going to see this big pump. I think some of that was baked in already. We saw some big movement last week, so I wasn't really expecting a huge, like, after this is over we're going to see a massive rally. I think the rally's already begun, but this was likely part of the headwinds going into the crypto markets. Verge. Okay, Verge. So there was a big announcement coming. They were going to reveal this giant partnership. I think if anybody thought it was going to be anything less than Amazon or something, then it was going to crash. And of course, I mean, it's a typical sell the rumor news. There was a big pump going into this. And of course, it ended up being Pornhub accepting Verge. Okay, I don't know if that's really a big deal, but either way, the market sold off. And here we go, seeing this pretty big sell-off. We'll look at the charts here in a little bit more detail here, but just remember, guys, this happens all the time, and it's just kind of one of those hot potato games. Like, who's going to be the last one in as soon as the announcement comes? And it was within minutes, and you saw the big selling start, and that's just not a surprise. Very typical. So if you're chasing the news, if you're buying the rumor, be careful, because this is very common. And even if it would have been a great partnership, other than like Amazon or something crazy like that, this was going to be due to fall. I mean, that's just the way that way it works. Now, do we find a low? Does it start to rally from here? Absolutely. That's a different story. But come on. Come on. This is the same thing we saw a couple weeks back with 0x. I like 0x, but everyone thought, oh man, they're gonna come on CNBC and announce 0x been adding to Coinbase, and we all knew it wasn't, but it made for a good trade. So anyway, Verge, there you go. Let's get to the charts here, and I will go through my list, and then I will leave some time and some room for you guys to throw out some charts and some names. But big picture first, right? Is the next alt season upon us? I mean, that's what everybody wants to know. If you go to the market cap, we have had a couple of weeks of very strong rallies while Bitcoin was bottoming out in and around the $6,000, $7,000 range. The altcoins were having a big party. Many of them were well off the lows. And then Bitcoin confirmed last week, really started to get going. And some of the altcoins are still very strong. You're seeing just green across the board. Nothing really big to the downside other than Verge maybe, but just across the board. So we'll go through a lot of these. But if you look at the total picture, right, the total market cap, excluding BTC, well, let's look at BTC first, right? Just the total market cap bottomed out around that 240, 250 zone. And here we are already back up to, the mid low threes. And so $350 billion. So we've recovered quite a bit. That's been a pretty substantial increase off the lows when you look at a percentage basis. If you look at the alt market, has been very strong as well, bottomed out around that 130 mark. And here we are looking like we want to go higher and about to bust into that $200 billion mark for the alts. And I am continuing to weight heavy on the alt side. So, for the most part of the year, the strategy, if you hadn't sold, was to be predominantly weighted in Bitcoin as Bitcoin continued to gain dominance versus the alts, following that massive pump that the alts had in January. And so, after, going into that, that's been my primary strategy in terms of my portfolio weighting. The portion that I left in the long-term holds was very heavily weighted BTC, plus some of the bigger cap alts. And going into late March, that started to shift. And I figured that the mid cap, small cap names were going to be the first to start moving, and they have been. The other names that have so much versus BTC, and we have seen those rally back as well very strongly. EOS, Cardano, Icon, you saw a bunch of those names rally. So I've been making these big shifts into mostly alts here, as well as some of the better, bigger cap names, and also putting in more into the long-term holds out of cash. And I believe that my stance has always been, over the last couple of weeks, that if I look 6 months, 9 months, a year out, do I believe prices will be higher than we are now? And my answer was yes. Personally, I believe that. And so I begin to shift that, right? Between now and the next month, could it go up, down, back? Of course, right? I'm starting to take a broader view just because we've had such a deep pullback, and I think the lows have been put in. So let's get to BTC. So looking at Bitcoin, this is the daily chart of Bitcoin on Bitstamp, and you can see here this yellow line I have, and this is on the log chart, clearly has not broken this broader downtrend yet. So to be fair, That has not broken yet, and we are attempting another rally right into that. This will be the fourth attempt into this line since the big pullback started at the top. And so you can see this is here. We had this little bit of a double top that formed there, and then now we're rallying right into that following the big move off of the low. And this was a nice little consolidation right off the lows. This was a good double bottom, little bit of a test here. So the big washout we had in February, tremendous volume came in at the lows. We had that big rally. This served as a good back test to that low to see if that was it. And it just really started to round out a good bottom. A lot of support started coming in, and we saw a big battle going on here between the bulls and the bears. And it was just back and forth, but it was still very cautious because we were living below the moving average and everything was still very much in a downtrend. Even the alts were struggling here, but things started to shift here over the last couple of weeks. And we just saw some big volume come in. Shorts were at an all-time high. They got squeezed. And now we're seeing some pause, some consolidation right below that trend line. And it's very healthy. Let's get letting the moving averages catch up. We had a big move, and now we're pausing. And so what I want to see is, one, this moving average hold. Could it pull back a little bit more? Yeah. And the zone I'm looking at here is between that 7,700 and 7,400. That would be strong support. Anything below that, and it would really start to turn the picture negative again. And then on the upside, of course, clearing this trend line, then ultimately clearing this price resistance right around that $9,000 to $9,100 mark would really start to show a lot more momentum to the bullish side. And so that's what I'm looking for. A little bit of a pause, sideways action, maybe, and then a break above this, and retesting first at 9,100, and then ultimately this neckline, which was also strong support or resistance around 9,600. And so over the next couple of days to weeks, that's what I'm going to be looking for. Those are the levels to be watching. And of course, that's assuming that in the near term, we hold above some of these key levels. If we zoom in a little bit and look at the 4-hour chart, there is a case to be made for a potential head and shoulder pattern forming here on the BTC chart. A little bit of an irregular pattern, and this right little rally here is the potential right shoulder. And so if that is going to play out, then the level to be watching here is what forms the neckline around 7,900 and in around that level, 79, 7,800. If we break below that, then this projects down to that support level that I'm watching around 7,400. And so that could play out in the near term. On the daily pattern, it doesn't really change a whole lot, just because I think it would be a normal pause and pullback back to a key moving average in a support area, would retest that, and then we could head higher from there. So just keep that in mind, right? This is still playing out. What would invalidate this is if the price starts to rally and starts to get above this 82, 8,300 mark, then this pattern is off the table. And so we'll know that here in the next few 4-hour bars, and that's the level to be watching on the upside near term, and ultimately breaking out above that resistance here. So you can see the RSI is starting to cool off a little bit as this thing continues to consolidate, and that also supports the potential for this picture playing out here a little bit. But in the intermediate term to longer term, I'm still bullish. Near term, kind of cautious, but that doesn't mean I am not looking at the alts, because the alts continue to be very strong and rally and look very good. There's lots of setups here, and we'll go over some of those that I'm looking at here. So just keep an eye on that here near term. Real quick, before I keep going on some of the other charts here, just a quick housekeeping item. If you are not already familiar, I do offer some video courses, technical analysis for cryptocurrencies, as well as a Crypto 101 course, your guide to getting started. You can buy those. You can watch and stream those unlimited on the website here, noteinvestor.com/training. And I'm working on a few other products that I am very excited about and getting ready to roll out to you guys. And I think it'll help you, especially those of you that are a little bit more active in the trading side of things. But check that out at noteinvestor.com, and follow me on Twitter at noteinvestor if you already don't. So, all right, let's get to it. A couple of charts here that I want to watch. So let's go through the biggies. Looking at ETH first here. So the ETH USD pair, this is on the 4-hour chart. has been pretty much just kind of keeping up with BTC. It was outperforming for a little bit here, and we had this nice strong rally. If you look at the BTC chart, this was one of the names that was keeping up and outperforming Bitcoin. And here it is, just pausing, putting in a nice little secondary formation here, a little bit of an ascending triangle on this 4-hour chart. And so I'm still liking ETH. It's taking a little bit of a breather here, and that's good. It needed a little bit of a pause. But if you look at the long-term picture, ETH was just so oversold versus Bitcoin. And then here at the lows, look at the RSI was down at the teens. I mean, just incredibly oversold versus BTC. And we saw the RSI really start to make headway. And here it is back up to the 60 range. The bull momentum index is very strong on this one. And we were just going straight up versus BTC for about a week. And here it is pausing a little bit. It's a healthy pause, a good consolidation. And we're letting this moving average catch up. So versus BTC, it's holding its own. I think it will continue to outperform once this consolidation ends on the ETH side. And above that, what I'm looking for is a next test up to this level, which is a pretty significant move for ETH BTC. That's another 13, 15%. And if BTC continues higher while ETH does that, even better. So got to keep an eye on that one. I still like ETH long term. I'm holding it, but this is a good move off of the low and a nice little pause. Watch that 4-hour chart. If this thing really starts to break out, especially with volume, then that's it for the consolidation. But this thing looks like it's ready to go. On the USD side, let me clear some of these lines here. Let me go to the daily chart here first. On the USD side, same thing, right? We had this nice rally off the lows. It's kind of pausing, pulling in a little bit right around this first resistance level here in the low to mid 500 range. If it can clear that, then the next level I'm looking for is that 600 to 650, 660 range. And so that'd be another nice move that would correspond with the move on the BTC side. But anything above 670, 680, that's going to be a big resistance zone. And so that's the level that I'm going to be watching on the USD pair if this thing continues higher. But that is a solid 30+% from where we are at current levels. Litecoin. So I mentioned Litecoin in a video yesterday. I said, I think Litecoin has bottomed versus Bitcoin. I think a low is in. And look at this nice action we saw here yesterday. So that's very nice to see. What I was looking at here when I did my video, let me close the volumes temporarily to show you guys here, but you can see we had this big low in late March versus BTC. We had a rally, and then we had another low here, and then this little bit of a rounding bottom. You can see it was just multiple times that it tested this level versus Bitcoin, and the support really started to come in. If I was looking at the RSI on the daily, this thing was near the lows. We were down here, and I was thinking this one's going to start playing catch up versus BTC. And so that's what I was looking for. I was looking for some action on Litecoin to at least play catch up, because for the most part, it had just been lagging most of the other alts, and it's starting to run a little bit versus Bitcoin. And so that's good. On the USD pair, you can see Litecoin was setting up, had this nice little bit of a break here, and broke out earlier around that 130, 132 mark yesterday, and is looking pretty decent all around here. So let me see here. Did I smash Bitcoin? Oh, it's all right, guys. It's just a little head and shoulder pattern. It's all good. It's all good. It's going to let all those bearish people buy the dip. BTC is dropping. It's the end of the world. Everyone's scared. Not bad here. So I told you guys. I told you. So if you're worried, what I'm looking at is a break below this neckline. And there's a simple way to do this. You can do a measured move lower. You extend that out from the neckline, and you can see that takes you to about 74, 7,500, which lines up well with this prior support. And so maybe we see that. And my guess is probably a little bit higher. But if we go to the daily chart, you can see that between 7,700 and 7,500, or 7,500, it's going to be this little bit of a support area here. So that's what I'm looking at. Now, this daily bar still has, what is that, 6 hours left. So you could see a little bit of a wick and then a reversal over the next 6 hours. Is this pre-recorded? No, this is not pre-recorded. We are live, ladies and gentlemen. This is a live stream. Now, if you're watching this later on YouTube, it will be available for view, but no, this is not pre-recorded. So I'm checking out your comments, and I am go ahead and watching this as it goes. So gotta love it. I don't know about you guys, but I really love looking at the charts and doing technical analysis. I'm a chartista, a bona fide chartista. And so, you know, this leads me to a little not an educational piece, but just my thoughts on, you know, technical analysis and the order of importance, price, indicators, all that stuff. Everybody has their own opinion. Everybody has their style of trading and investing. No two situations are alike. No two traders are alike. There's different psychologies. There's just so much that goes into it, which is what makes it so exciting, right? You're buying something when someone else is selling. You're bearish, bullish. You're thinking this is a 5-minute trade. They're thinking this is a long-term swing trade. And there's just so many variables. There's the news. There's the technical developments. And it's just, that's what makes it fun, makes it interesting. You're going up against some of the smartest people in the world, but everyone has their own style. And so there is no one single right way. Everyone does it a little bit differently. Everyone has their favorite indicators, right? So it's real easy to get caught up in, oh, they're right and they're wrong and they don't know what they're doing. And I get all that. And there's a lot of guys out there that I will disagree with on the technical analysis side. But it doesn't necessarily mean they're wrong per se. They just have a different way of doing things. They may be looking at different time frames. Some guys like to trade the 15-minute chart a lot. Some guys are only looking at the daily and the weekly charts. And so there's just everything in between. That being said, this is my opinion on the order of importance when it comes to looking at the charts. The number one most important on the chart is the price action. There is nothing more important than the price action. So price, volume. Those are the two most important things. And, you know, you can look at indicators, you can look at oscillators, you can look at sequence counts if you'd like that. You can look at Elliott wave theory. You can look at all that fun stuff. But at the end of the day, it's price and volume, number one. That's the most important. Nothing else matters beyond that, because if you're using the charts to trade, that's what they're doing. They're telling you price and they're telling you direction and trends. So number one is price volume. It translates to next is support and resistance. Second important on a chart, not the indicator, not the moving average, support and resistance. And what I mean by that is that's the area of price where suddenly the buyers and the sellers are battling it out and one side is winning. And so you can see here, this was an area of support down here. The bulls continued to battle in. Buyers were stepping in, sellers were getting exhausted. That is very important, and that's a key level. On the upside, right, we were getting into resistance, and that's where the sellers were stepping in. And now when you're trending, when the market is trending like it was here, right, price and time are linear, meaning here someone was willing to buy, and then it rallied, but then as the downtrend continues, the buyers and the sellers have been in at lower prices. So up here, sellers were, anybody who was willing to sell up here now is saying, you know what, I'm going to sell and I'm willing at a lower price. And the buyers were no longer, but they're waiting for a lower price. And you can see rally happen again. Sellers showed up at a lower price. So price is linear with time when market's trending. And on the upside, it works the same way. There's going to be some point in price where all the buyers that were waiting for 6K are no longer waiting for 6K. Now they're thinking, you know what, I'll get in at 7 and I'll get in at 74. And that's usually how it works. And sell side works the same way. So support and resistance, this is the most important thing when it comes to looking at the charts, because you look at where the buyers and the sellers are showing up. And then after that, it's volume and it's moving averages. And then it's your favorite indicator and any kind of theory and process that you go off of. And this price and volume action, the support and the resistance levels, that's what forms all the patterns on the charts that we all look for. That's what forms the head and shoulders and the cup and handle, the double bottoms and all that, the popular charts that we all watch. There's the candlestick patterns, but at the end of the day, support and resistance. And so, and that works the same with different time frames. If you look at the 1 hour, there's going to be key levels of support and resistance on the 1 hour, and we go from there. So that's where we're at. So let me keep going. So we covered BTC, we covered ETH, we covered Litecoin. Let me look at Cardano. So Cardano has been another one that's been very strong as of late. Was looking very good off the lows here. So I'll go to the Cardano daily chart first. You can see we put in this long-term rounded bottom here on this big pullback versus Bitcoin. I personally think that was the low for Cardano. That's a very long-term low. That was a huge retracement following the mega pump in December and January. And so this thing has really pulled back. It undercut this prior consolidation here, but it finally got back above that. So that's positive. And you can see Cardano basically has rallied right back to this little bit of a consolidation here, which was a prior support area for about a week, broke down. Now we're rallying right back into that. And that's where we're pausing here. So that's kind of the first test. I think we'll see a little bit of pullback now, some consolidation, maybe some sideways action, and then we'll see the rally continue after that. So that's what I'm watching on Cardano, but it still looks good. It's one of my, I wouldn't say my favorite, but it's one of my top platform picks for more of a longer term hold for me. Someone was asking earlier, would I pick Cardano over EOS, or how would I balance the two? I like them both. I'm probably, no, I'm not probably, I know I am heavier EOS, but that is a function of I got into EOS earlier, and EOS has had a stronger rally off the lows. And so that's probably why I'm heavier EOS, but doesn't mean I prefer EOS over Cardano. I probably, if I had to start fresh today, I'd probably go equal weight on both of them, but that's where I'm at. So I do hold them both, but I'm definitely heavier EOS right now. Near term, we go zoom in a little bit on Cardano. This is always a warning flag for me. We've had a very strong move. We've had a nice rally, big volume reversal at the top. This thing's pausing a little bit. RSI is cooling off. Best case, we'll see this thing go sideways for a little bit, but most likely it might pull in a little bit. How low could it go? The first level to watch is going to be this prior base that it broke out of. You could see some sort of consolidation pause above this level, so that 2,800 or so should be a pretty good support area. That'll let the moving average catch up on the daily as well. But that's what I'm watching. That's usually a little bit of a warning flag when I see that the big volume reversal. So if I'm on a trade and I see that, what I tend to do is tighten up the stops, or I'll take partial profits going into something like that. But that's trading versus long-term. Long-term hold, I mean, there's really no big sell signals here. It's coming off the lows, in my opinion. All right, NEO. Look at the NEO BTC here. So NEO BTC continues to consolidate in a pretty little tight range here. You can see I've got the lines already marked on my chart. Had that breakout from this little flag pattern, broke out, but then just never really followed through, and so far has just been tightening up. But now it's getting near the top of this range, potentially setting up for a nice little bit of a breakout here. You can see in the daily chart, this was a very healthy pause following the couple of days off the low. And, you know, off the low, that was a pretty decent rally versus BTC. You figure that's 20 to 30% versus Bitcoin. But what you have to keep in mind is during this time, Bitcoin also had a big rally. So this thing was giving you double, right? It was giving you that extra versus BTC while BTC was having a strong move. And now it's pausing, consolidating here, but it still looks good. It's just letting this moving average catch up, building a nice little ascending triangle here in this range. So as long as this broader trend holds, I think it still looks good, and it's going to tighten up here pretty soon. And the clear level to watch here on the upside is that 8,500, 8,560 mark, this blue line here that I have, which, as you can see, was prior resistance back here. If it can break above that, then this is the next level I'm watching. And so on the upside, this little window here would be the next test. And from current pricing, that's about 20 to 30% above current levels. So if we break out, that's the next target that I'm going to be watching on the upside. Now, if we go to NEO USD, this is on Bitfinex. I was watching a very short-term trend here over the weekend. You can see I've got that line marked. It broke, and it didn't really crash per se, but it broke, and now it's kind of going south. If you see on the 4-hour chart, again, just kind of consolidating here, putting in some higher lows, but we want to see this thing hold. RSI is rolling over a little bit and starting to show a little bit of weakness versus USD, but no doubt part of that is because of the BTC chart. It's being driven by that. If you look at the BTC chart, it's holding tight as Bitcoin pulls in. This thing's holding, but the level I want to see this thing hold is around that $60 to $62 mark, and that'd be a normal pullback. If we could hold that level, then we could see a rally. The first test is going to be 7,500 or 75, not 7,500. Wow, imagine 7,500 NEO, $75. And that was really my upside target once it started to come off the lows here, and I still think we're going to see that. So $75 NEO is what I'm looking at near term. Then above that, we'll have to go from there. So that's going to be the first big test. EOS just continues to look pretty good here. So looking at EOS, this is the thing to watch on EOS, right? If you zoom out and take the broader picture here, you can see that there was this prior high versus BTC, which was established in January. Then we had the long grind lower, found a low. We started to stair-step our way higher. And then in a single day, just had this kind of climactic buying day where it just went straight up and it stopped right there, right at the prior high. Now we're seeing this pause pullback and a good secondary entry here, in my opinion. But what it's done is it's maintained this broader uptrend still. You can see this line is still holding. And so that's still good. What I also like about this is on the move off the low, if you go point to point on that, you can see that this pullback that we saw here over the last week has brought it right back to that 318 level. And it looks like it wants to pause there and find support. That 318 level was also the 10 EMA on the daily chart. And if we zoom in a little bit and start looking at the 4-hour, 1-hour chart, you can see we had this big pullback. This is the 318 level. Found some pretty good support right in and around the level to watch in the near term. And here we are breaking out, had a good volume pop, starting to pause a little bit. So this is the level I'm watching. If it breaks above this, then I think we're going to retest those highs. And so near term, we're in a little bit of a window. If it holds this moving average, I've got this green level highlighted here. That's the level I want to see it hold. Ultimately, this 995 level or so. But it'll be interesting if we see EOS break out and test those highs here over the next week or two. EOS USD, very similar picture. I mean, it just has the same pattern, right? We had this pullback, we had the breakout, now we're pulling right back to this moving average, and it looks like it wants to get going again, and that's translating similarly on the BTC chart. Now, on the USD pair, this is not as close to the old highs, but that's because Bitcoin had such a big pullback. So, but this one still looks good long term. Binance, what is up with Binance? Is this thing going to rally already? So here's a couple of things that I like on Binance. Let me clear my chart and I'll show you guys what I'm watching on the BNB. So similarly to EOS, right? Binance had the big pullback, then the big rally right to the prior high versus Bitcoin. And here it is pulling back. Now, I like this because I wanted this pullback. If you guys remember, I did a stream when it was back here, and it was almost 2 weeks ago now, and I said I would rather it not break out, give us a little bit of a handle type of pullback that would let this RSI cool off. It has cooled off, and ideally, if something's going to remain bullish, you want that RSI to bottom around 40 or higher, and we're right there. We're at 46 RSI on the daily. We've got this little bit of a forming. This could form a nice cup and handle pattern. You don't want the handle to get too much deeper. Anything more than halfway through this cup is usually too much. And so this is still valid. This is still well within a healthy pullback range. And if we go to the fib level on this entire move, you can see we're also right at that 382 level. And so ideally, this would be a place for a good low be established here. And I'm going to be watching for the to change on this handle here. And it looks like it certainly has tried a couple of times here in the last week. Let me go to that might be easier to see. Here we go. And so that's what I'm going to be watching, right? This broader downtrend that has been in play here for the last week and a half, 2 weeks. When I start to see this thing confirm to the upside, I'm going to be paying attention and looking for a break above this high versus BTC. Now on the BNB dollar pair, also looking very strong. And so if you look at the chart there, this is still forming this trend. Now it is poking below this trend line a little bit, but as long as the high remains above this high, this low, excuse me, as long as the low remains above this most prior low, then it's still going to form a valid ascending triangle pattern. And so that's what I'm watching here. And again, this is getting very tight. There's a very clear level of overhead resistance right around that $14 mark on the BNB dollar pair. And so if this can start to turn the corner and the BTC pair also starts to move out of that handle, then I'm going to be looking for an imminent breakout on Binance. If it can clear that $14 area, the next big resistance is around $16.50, and then the old highs around $22. And that's a higher if Binance does that. So on this one, it's been pausing a little bit, but I still have it on my radar. All right, let me go back to BTC. Everyone's getting crazy here. Oh my God, it's crushing. 7,800, guys. That's the level to watch. Okay. A little bit of a pullback. 1 hour RSI is already down here at the 30s. 30-minute RSI, very oversold. So maybe a little bit of a bounce. Pause, rally into like 8K, and then maybe we see another leg down. I know you don't want to hear that, but that's usually the way it works. So we'll keep going. NCASH. So looking at NCASH, this one was trying to break out earlier today. So let me take these last couple of bars off. And this is what I've been watching, right? This is basically new high territory for NCASH here. And then it had this little pullback, this nice consolidation. Volume really started to dry up. And I was just waiting for this breakout. And we saw that big volume pop that looked very positive. And here we are struggling to clear this first level of resistance, but it's still holding the moving average here. So I'm not too worried about it. It's a kind of a normal pullback. The volume here was pretty good on the upside, but no doubt there was some selling pressure that showed up. You can see the biggest volume bar here corresponded with that candle with the big wick. So above that level, and it's pretty clear to see what that level is. If it can close above that, that'd be very positive. But right now, in the near term, that's the level that has been a proven level of where the sellers start showing up. But as long as it remains above this little breakout point that it had earlier, then I'm not going to be too worried. I'm going to be watching this for a little bit of a consolidation here and then maybe a move higher. I really like names that are so close to new high territory because there is very little resistance once you get into new high territory, and they can run for a lot longer than you expect. RSI at that point doesn't hold as much relevance when you're in brand new high territory and people say, you know, it's overbought. RSI is at 75, it's at 80, but when you're in new high ground, it's really hard to say what an RSI overbought is. And so at that point, what I tend to do is I shift more into a price volume action analysis, and I'll look at different things like big volume reversals at the top. I'll look for very extended prices from short-term moving averages like the 10 EMA. And so I'll be looking at those type of things if this one starts going higher. But I'm still liking this setup here. It's breaking out, kind of starting to edge out slowly. If it can clear this near-term resistance here in the next day or two, then I expect to continue to see some more upside on NCASH. On the downside, it's pretty clear. We got to hold this breakout point here, and near-term support is going to be the lows of this consolidation right here. So if it breaks out, if it breaks below that, that'll be a negative sign, as that'll be a failed breakout, and it would validate this. Let me draw that better. It would validate this bearish divergence on the RSI, but for now, it's too soon to tell. AION. Another one that is testing out of some resistance here. I liked this little bit of a consolidation. So you can see it had this pause right when it hit resistance, kind of built a new little base, sat tight, broke out on some decent volume, sitting tight now, but it's still looking very positive. The RSI has plenty of room to run if this thing wants to continue higher on the 4-hour chart. Let me go to the daily chart just kind of show you guys the big picture. And you can see where I have this blue line marked was multiple points of resistance here over the last couple of months. You can see that that was a resistance point there. That was a resistance point there. You got to discount this huge wick on this one day. That was just very abnormal, but the volume there was very strong. But here we are. resistance, and now finally starting to edge out. And so got to keep an eye on this one. I'm really liking this one here. It's been a little bit of a, I wouldn't say boring one, right? But it's just kind of a slow mover, slowly picking up momentum, but the trend is still favorable. So I'm liking this one from a little bit more of an intermediate term here. Probably not one of the quick high flyers like we're seeing in some of the other names here over the last couple of days, but still looking pretty good off the lows. And this is a nice bottoming pattern that it's putting in. Lisk. So Lisk is another name I covered here in my video. I covered Lisk, Litecoin, QuantStamp. We'll get into those here. Let me clear some of my prior thoughts on Lisk, and I'll start fresh here. But was Lisk here from a little bit of a base perspective. You can see over the last week and a half, it was just kind of pausing, putting in this little bit of a formation here with the resistance, the breakout point being right there. Still has not officially broken out, but I was also looking at the lower resistance point within the base, and that's what I was watching. So there's two levels. There was this official breakout point, and then there was this smaller resistance within the base. And when I saw this big volume pop off the lows, cleared this, then that's kind of an early signal for me. You can see it rallied through that, but now it's just pausing, consolidating. As long as it holds this prior in base breakout around 1291 or so, 1280, then it'll be fine. But ultimately, I'm going to be watching for this level to be taken out. If it can get above that, then that'd be a pretty good breakout here on Lisk, and the next level up is going to be this little consolidation that it had right here. And from current pricing, you're looking at about 15 to 20% or so. Still looking all right. Not too bad. Sitting tight here. QuantStamp. Let's take a look at the QSP. So QuantStamp is another one I covered in this video here, and I was liking the very strong volume off the lows. So that's what got my attention here, right? When you see big reversal off the lows after a long pullback, and I saw 2 days of just very strong buying volume following what we saw prior, this little bit of an early signal here, but this really confirmed it, got well above the moving average on the 10 EMA, and at that point I'm looking for a secondary entry point. It gave us about 3 or 4 days of nice pause pullback, and here it is holding support on the moving average, starting to rally. And then yesterday we saw some big volume come in again. Right now we're seeing a little bit of a pause, but it's still looking good. It's just signs of accumulation showing up here off of that low, and that's following this, this long pullback that we saw. Now on the upside, the thing with names that have had these big pullbacks, right? They're just so different than like NCASH, right? NCASH is very close to hitting new highs. We saw that in WANChain. We see that in ZIL. Ontology, right? When something is in new high territory, there's just no overhead resistance. There's no big bag holders that bought way up here ready to sell as soon as they break even. That's not true with these names, right? Cardano, QuantStamp, some of these names that have had these big pullbacks, there's just going to be these levels of resistance that are going to be little hurdles that it has to cross along the way up if it's going to keep rallying. And so those are the levels that I have highlighted here. You can see this first one has proven to be an area of resistance right around that 2090 2100 area or so, and a lot of sellers keep showing up there. So that's going to be the first test. If we can get above that, then I'm looking at 2500 next. And so from current levels, that's about 25% higher. And so that's what I'm going to be watching here. On the downside, it could still pull back, but as long as it holds this moving average, nothing really to worry about. But in the near term, I want to see this thing hold this 1950 mark. And that's following this bit of a breakout we had on this consolidation here. So in the short term, that's the level I'm watching, and it's really close. It's sitting right there right now. So I'd like to see it hold here. Icon. So looking at ICX, let me go to the daily chart here first. And so we had that big rally in ICX, followed by a pretty deep pullback, deeper than I had hoped. But if we do a fib analysis on this, you can see that undercut the 618 level, not quite the 786, but it was still pretty deep, and finally got back above this moving average here a couple of days ago. You can see that was a pretty good rally, and so far it's just starting to stair step its way higher now, really starting to gain some momentum. the buy volume has been much stronger than the sell volume, and so that's positive. It's still looking pretty good. Probably not moving as fast as everyone wants it to, but I think it's good. It's a lot healthier this way. It's kind of just stair-stepping, gives you these little bit of pause and starting to rally higher. So not bad. On the downside, I mean, right now we're basically testing this this support here, but would not surprise me just to see this series of higher lows. So this could pull in, make a higher low here, and just continue the overall trend. And so on the daily side, that's the level to watch. So right around 3370 or so, where this moving average is. If it pulls back to that, it could still make a higher low and then just kind of continue higher. Still look though very strong on the bull momentum index as well, showing a lot of positive strength here. All right, I've got two more on my list, and then I'll start doing some of your guys' names here. Tron. And I chose Tron because a lot of you guys are asking me about this, and not because I particularly see a good setup or something that I like. Let me find Tron Binance. Where is it at? Here we go. And so let me clear some of my analysis on this pair. And so Tron's just, it's kind of been a bit of a choppy chart here. I generally don't like such choppy looking charts. Very volatile over the place. Good if you like the quicker trades, but to be fair, it's found a pretty good little bit of a low here, and some good volume starting to come in on the most recent day. If you look at the daily action here, the 4-hour, this is putting in a pretty good base here. And what I like about it is the little signs of accumulation that I'm seeing as the price wants to start moving higher. You can see the big volume pops, pause, quiet, big volume pop, big volume pop. So it's definitely looking better. It's putting in a base. This is the level that it's got to hold. If it breaks below this, then that's just going to be real negative. Ultimately, a breakout above here, which is around let's just call it 550, is going to be kind of confirmation that this is ready to move higher. But the daily chart it's a little messy, not as strong as some of the other ones, but Tron has been known to make some pretty quick and wild moves. And finally, everyone's favorite, Verge. And so Verge was just going, I got to say, Verge went a lot higher than I expected, man. Verge was just relentless on its way up here. A big move off the low here for the last couple of weeks. You can see, and this was one of the early movers. This is one of the one that really started moving first, had that big rally up 200%. Then it pulled back, but it just continued the trend here. Was up 300% from the lows and was pulling back again. But this is a clean break. I mean, this is clearly breaking the uptrend now. Big volume reversal, just massive selling showing up on Verge. And of course, that corresponded with the partnership announcement. You can see that bar there. I was watching this real time this morning when it happened. It was like as soon as the news came out, the selling began. You can see it there, and then it bounced and just really started. So intermediate term, I'm thinking Verge continues lower. Best case, this thing's going to pause and consolidate for some time, but this is one ugly candle right here. It's just big volume on both sides and just not pretty. So really doing a lot of technical damage to the chart. It's going to remain volatile. All right, so let's see what else we got here. Oh, let's go through the list, see what charts we want to look at. Let me go back to BTC. How's the BTC doing? Still seeing some selling pressure here near term. All right, so let's go. Yeah, so you guys were saying, I remember a few months back, you remember saying how much you disliked EOS, and I did. I disliked the way they were rolling out their ICO. I didn't like that one bit. It's a little fishy. And so I avoided it for the most part last year, but during this most recent pullback, I did jump on EOS. Let's see here. So we did Icon. Let me actually, what I'm going to do is make some notes here on a little thing here on the side because I'll forget. So let me jot a few down here and then we'll go. So I'll do sub. I will do ZIL for show. What else we got here? WABI. Yeah, WABI's been putting in a pretty good low. Sorry about the radio silence here. I'm going through the notes. I'm reading your comments, so I'm trying to catch up a little bit. Digix Dow. I want to take a look at that. That was moving pretty good the other day, so let's see how that one looks here. Digibytes. You guys want to see Digibyte? ELF. Yeah, let's take a look at ELF. OMG. How did I forget OMG? Proof of Authority Network, Oncology, NANO. Walton, I didn't do Walton. That should have been on my list. WAN chain, we'll do the WAN chain. And I did Tron already. Genesis Vision, Digibyte. Okay. Keep the list coming. I got enough to go off of now, so we've got about 12 names here. So let's get to it. I've been doing, what am I at here? About an hour now. My goodness, time flies when you're having fun. All right, so let's go. Substratum. So looking at this guy, I'm going to zoom out, go to the daily chart here. But again, another one that has put in a very good base here off the lows. Very nice rounding base here. You can see it had that breakout. Then it gave you 3 days of pause. Nice secondary entry point right to the breakout point, and here it is going higher. It is feeling a little bit extended now. This is the daily chart. Keep in mind, and the RSI on the daily is starting to hit that 75, and so it's feeling a little bit long in the tooth here in the near term. Maybe need to pause, consolidate a little bit. The first level of resistance, if it continues higher, is going to be this zone here around that 9,000 mark. You can see the most recent high went right close to that 87.90, so it's getting close. If we go to the 4-hour chart, has definitely been hitting some extreme lows on the RSI, so getting up there. A lot of volume on this most latest 4-hour bar, and so at the top of a move, here's another good example, right? We've had a rally. How big was this rally off those lows? You're up 87% off this low, and here at the top, you're seeing big volume start to show up, and so I generally get cautious when I start to see that. If I'm on a trade, I will either move my stops up tight or lock in some gains, but we'll see where this one goes. Overall, it's still looking strong. It just feels a little bit extended, so there could be some more profit taking showing up on sub. ZIL. Another one that I like, more longer term, feels a little extended near term as well. If you look at the most recent rally that it's had, seeing some divergence on the RSI here as this one continues higher. RSI is not confirming, and so that's usually a warning flag for me. Again, the thing to watch on this one is the support line. If I was on this, I'm not right now. That's the level I'd be watching, this trend line, right? That has proven to be an area of support on the way up. If it breaks that, then that's going to be the first sign that it's going to probably pause, consolidate for a little bit. What I'm on ZIL in a project I like, I just think it's got heated. I start seeing some profit taking some of these names. That big below here. Chart here. There we go. And so you can see here in this most recent move off the lows, right? That's 40–50% off the lows. So pretty good. If it just pauses here and goes sideways for a day or two, that'll let this RSI cool off enough to support another leg higher. And again, this is one of those where it's new high territory. So RSI doesn't hold as much weight, but at this point, I'm looking at more price volume action, some divergence, stuff like that. And it is extended versus the moving average. If you look near the highs, come on. My trading view is really slowing down here. Just trying to show you guys the, all right, it's not going to happen. Anyway, low extended off the high, so let's keep going. WABI. So WABI here found a nice base, a little bit of a double bottom. You could say this is an Adam and Eve type of bottom here. So you've got the first low and then this second rounding low here. And the clear breakout on the double bottom was this horizontal price point right around that 114 area or so. And it's confirmed. And when it broke out, the volume was very strong on the breakout day. You can see that was the big green bar there. Cleared resistance. So far, it's held that breakout point. Looks like it wants to go higher. The way you can do these is you can extrapolate the double bottom measured move is basically the lowest low up to the neckline. And you extrapolate that out from the breakout point. Now, this is never solid, okay? This is just kind of a estimate, rule of thumb. What I always do is I always compare where does the measured move take me relative to prior resistance if it's, you know, not at new highs. And so you can see this measured moves takes you right to that prior resistance point. So that makes sense. So we could see another 20% or so before we hit a pause point. Could also rally up to this area there, which is not too far away. So anywhere between there is the level I'm watching on WABI. But it looks pretty good. Not bad. Good, some good volume off the lows here on WABI. Right. BAT. I'll add that one to the list. Basic attention. All right. So let's see here. So we did with WABI. Okay. Digix down. The DGD. Yeah. You know, I was looking, it had this fake out move the other day. I thought maybe it was ready to go. A lot of selling came in and just not quite ready. You get these big pumps out of nowhere. Had that huge move a while back, and it was setting up for a nice little ascending triangle base, but you can see clearly that didn't happen. It once it broke below that trend line, just continued lower. So not one of the stronger names right now. Digibyte. Digibyte has been looking very strong off the lows after this very quiet, very tight base that it was putting in right here, and then just broke out with some strong volume, and this momentum continues to the upside. You can see all the buying days are much bigger than the selling days, and so that looks pretty good on the daily chart. And you know, this little pause is giving it some time to cool off on the RSI, but it still looks pretty good here. Right now, it's basically pausing right below this prior resistance point right there. So you can see this was the prior support area, broke below, now becomes resistance on the way up. And the last 4 days, that's where it has struggled to clear. If we zoom in on the 4-hour chart, that's good. As long as it continues to maintain up here near the resistance point, what tends to happen is it just pauses, consolidates a little bit, and then it retries, and you want to see that volume if it breaks out. But not bad. Not looking too elf. So looking at ELF, man, after that big move it had back here, finally cooled off a little bit. Looks like it's still consolidating here on the daily chart, letting this moving average catch up. I'd like to see this one go sideways a little bit longer. Let this RSI on the daily cool off just a bit more, maybe come down to the 60s, 50 range. That would set it up for a little bit of a stronger rally higher. But man, that was a big reversal day there. Look at that. Big wick. A lot of selling came in here. And that's not surprising, right? When you figure during that day, it was 70% above the moving average, the 10 EMA. And so, you know, if I see that kind of action and I'm on a trade, I'll generally just bank some profits. And you saw that it was a big reversal, and now it's pulling in a little bit. So probably going to digest, consolidate a little bit more, a couple more days at least before it decides higher. But that's going to be a big resistance point to cross here. OMG. So let's look at this one two ways. We'll look at the BTC chart here, and then we'll look at the dollar chart. So on the BTC chart, you can see it's retesting this prior resistance here. Bumped it in a couple times now, this third test of that. Got above it yesterday, but it's pulling in again here today. If you go to the 4-hour chart, though, this was a very odd pattern. I was watching this. It's kind of squared, right? You had this big move up and then a sharp pullback to the moving average. Not quite a double bottom, not quite a rounded cup and handle, but it's just a very irregular pattern. And then just kind of trying to break out again, put a little bit of a handle. So on the BTC chart, it's near term, it just looks kind of weird, but that's the level to watch here. On the USD side, see here, it's it's a little extended here. This was a lot of selling pressure that showed up. It's trying to rally again and just finding some resistance here. A lot of sellers showed up on this bar here. Now we're starting to see some selling pressure. So I'd be a little cautious here just because it's starting to look like a failed breakout attempt again. And this one, keep in mind, has had a very strong move off the lows. Here at the highs, wrong one. Here at these highs, right, that was 100% move off the lows and even higher during that little wick. And so I would just be cautious. I still like OMG longer term, but just in the intermediate term, it's just had such a rally in the last and a half. So I think you just need some time to consolidate, pause a little bit up here. POA. I've got a few more on my list. I've got Proof of Authority Network, Ontology, Nano, Walton, WAN, and BAT. So POA, looking at this one, looking pretty good here. Just continues to stair step higher, put these higher lows in place. You can see it's retesting the moving average again right now. Try to break out a little. I think this is healthy. Consolidate again. And what I like about this one is, and you got to discount this big bar where it debuted on the exchange. And discounting, this is basically new high territory, right? So if it starts to move a little bit of a bull it's putting in, then that's going to be no resistance on the way up. So that's what I'm watching. Very strong volume on this day here. So that's compelling. You got to pay attention when things do that. When they have that strong volume move on, now it's just pausing, getting a little high. Has plenty of room on the upside to continue higher before it hits any kind of overbought condition. Is looking pretty good right here as a secondary entry. I'm going to be paying attention to this one. I like the way it's setting up here. So watching the 4-hour chart, this is really the thing to watch. If it can start to clear this near-term resistance, try it twice here, then that may be the signal that this thing's going to continue higher. We've got Ontology next. Ontology still taking a breather following that massive pump it had a couple of weeks ago. Still looks good. It's just consolidating. We go to the daily chart here. I mean, this thing was just very overdone near term. Everyone was talking about it. Everyone wanted it at that point, and so it was definitely due for a pause. It ran up 380% in 21 days. If you factor that out, I mean, let's just take the move, right? That's still 300%, 290% in 15 days. Massive move higher, very strong volume. And so that's really good. This is just a normal pause, normal pullback. It looks very healthy still. No big sell signals yet other than it just needed a break. I mean, it just needed to pause. This has been good to let the technicals cool off a little bit. Could it continue lower? It sure could. Let's do a fib analysis on this. If we do that, we are just above the 382 level, so that would be the area to watch near term. Ultimately, I don't see it going much below this if it's going to continue higher. So that 618 level, which is also the prior, the last big base before I had that big rally. So that's the area to watch here on the pullback. If it breaks below this 382 level, then this 618 fib retracement level, which is around 3,500, is going to be the level that I'm watching. If I see it get that low, that may set up for a nice secondary entry point. But this could be it. This is a good potential bull flag here. And so got to pay attention, look for that volume pop to the upside. Nano. Nano finally put a low in. It's I've been watching this one, but I'm not convinced yet. It looked like it was trying here, and then it just saw a lot of selling come in. Let me zoom in a little bit. You can see there was a nice big break. You had one here, and then you had another move higher, and then just the following bar, big reversal bar, a lot of volume came back in and just put that one back into a little bit of a base. So I'm not sure if it's done yet. It may have found a low finally. It's probably too soon to tell, though. There's no upside confirmation yet. And so in the near term, that's the area to watch. See if it can flatten out a little bit, go sideways here. You are seeing a little bit of positive action on the R sides, trying to come off the lows here, but definitely not one of the stronger names yet. And ultimately, it's got to clear and close above that 7,800 level. If it can start to do that, then that's the first signal that maybe the low is in, and it'll start to go from there. But right now, it's still kind of basing out a little bit. Walton. So Walton, look at this chart. It was kind of an interesting move earlier today here, but let me clear some of these lines and show you what I was looking at. We had this resistance point here right around that 1475 mark, just below that 15,000 Satoshi level. And you can see we had that rally right into that, pulled back for about a week, and then another big rally earlier today and paused right at that level. But I'm liking the volume. I mean, this was compelling right here, right? We had this slow, quiet pullback, just kind of grinding lower. It stopped right above this prior base that it broke out of. So you can see that's where the pullback stopped, held support, and then just strong volume came in. And right now it's pausing, still holding above that 10 EMA in the 4-hour chart. Keeping this here as a good secondary entry point. What I'm going to be looking for is it's got to hold, right? If it starts to just drift lower, that's a failed breakout. But what I want to see is this moving average retest this resistance, and then of course ultimately break out above that. So I'm liking Walton here, probably more intermediate term, right? Not to necessarily like on fire on the move right now, but it's setting up here at the lows. It's starting to look pretty good. WAN. Another one's putting in a pretty good little bull flag here. So you can see it had that big rally, got a little overheated. Everyone was talking about WAN, and now it's pausing, holding this 10 EMA on the daily chart. See if that holds there. Doing a film analysis on this. How big is that move off the low? It's right below the 3.2. If we go peak to peak on this entire run, it's basically there. I'd be watching that moving average more, but you can see the downtrend is very clear, right? So once break above that, I'm going to be looking for. It's pretty easy to see when that happens here. So I'm going to be watching for a reversal of this trend, and it's right at this little consolidation that it had back here. So this would be a good place of support to be watching for. So still looks good on that daily chart, and another name that is basically at new high territory, and so it wouldn't take much to get back into new high ground here on this guy. Any kind of decent volume comes in. What's the market cap? I know this has had quite the run now. Yeah, I mean, it got to over 600 billion for a while, so that's up there. It was at 700, so it's back down to 586. And BAT. So looking at the BAT here, very nice. Making some good strides off of the lows. Following it, look at this consolidation here. This pattern here looks real similar to that Lisk pattern that I was watching earlier, and that's looking nice. So this is having a strong move off of the lows. Looks like it's right at a resistance point near term. The level that I'd be watching on the upside could be as high as let's call it 37 area, and may be due for a pause at that point. But off the lows, man, this is already, if it gets there, that'd be a 60% move off of the exact low. But still looking pretty good. No real sell signals, marching higher. RSI is very strong. The momentum is very strong on this one. If you go to the 4-hour chart, did show a little bit of volume there. Didn't break the trend yet, but got to pay attention there. That's a little bit of a flag near term. But all around, I'd just be watching this broader uptrend here in the near term. So BAT's looking pretty good here. Still marching higher. Got to watch out for that little bit of a volume reversal there near term. Okay. Well, I think that's it, guys. Man, that's crazy. Almost an hour and a half just like that. So it's more like an hour 15 right now, but time flies when you're having fun. Let me quickly cycle through some of the comments here and see if maybe I could do a couple more. Pretty poor connection tonight. I hope you guys can hear me okay. I'm not getting any lag on my side, so hopefully my connection is good. Let's see here. So we can do VeChain. Do VeChain. Link. Yeah, I wanted to cover Link actually. I didn't do that one earlier. And let me go. I'll probably do one or two more after that, guys, and then we'll wrap it up. All right. I think that's it. So we'll do those. I'm looking through the comments here. I'll do 0x. And then we already did Cardano. We did WABI. Populous was moving big yesterday. I didn't do that one today, but got to limit the ones we do here because we're almost out of time. Let me go back to BTC here real quick, see where we're at. Pulling in a little bit, seeing that potential kind of odd-shaped head and shoulder pattern playing out. See if it breaks that neckline. If it does, though, just remember the levels I'm watching, guys. I'm looking at 7,700 down to about maybe 7,400, and it's got to hold that level. So, all right. So let's do a couple more here. So let's do Link. And Link is looking good here. I'm liking the way this one's setting up. Let me clear this line here. Putting in a nice little bit of a bottom. You can almost say this is a kind of inverted head and shoulder type of pattern. You got this one here, this most recent low, and then this most recent dip. The neckline is a little bit angled up, so a little bit more unusual, but still nice little bottom here, riding this moving average higher. In the near term, you zoom in, you can see trying to break out right now. Some good volume came in on that breakout attempt. It's pulling back right now. I think a lot of that is BTC, just kind of selling off a little bit, is putting the brakes on some of these alt moves. And you can see this was a little bit of a breakout attempt right here, but still looking pretty good. So I'm liking this one. I'm going to put this one on the watch list here. The daily chart on the upside, if it can break out, then the next real clear area of resistance to watch is there and then there. And so from here up, you're about 15% and then 35% for there. So not a bad one here, liking the way it's looking. This is one that I like longer term, so looking at Link. We still have 1,000 coins to go, Node. Oh, man. Put another quarter in the machine and keep Node on the line. That's a good one. I should have put a fresh cup of coffee on before I got going on the stream. Let me see here. I'll depends on how many likes I get here. If you guys are only giving me a limited number of likes, then sorry, all bets are off. 140 likes. Hey, that's not too bad. Appreciate the likes. All right. I promise you guys, I will be done before the next 12 hours. We will not go all day long. Record-breaking streams. What was next on the list here? These are already distracting me. Where's my list? Sell crypto, buy gold. Hey, not a bad idea. I did that a while ago. Actually, I got some trades. You guys don't like me to cover the stock market, do you? I do pay attention, not as much as crypto, because crypto's a lot faster moving, but definitely got some trades going on that side of the market. All right, VeChain, that was what was next here. So looking at VeChain, oh, look at that. This was playing out. So what I was looking at on VeChain here, I had a little trade open on this one a couple of days ago. Didn't like the way it was wedging up. It was also hitting this broader downtrend resistance line, and it was kind of hitting multiple resistance points here. So I was going to just wait until this thing broke out, kind of breaking the lower support line. But, if you look at the bigger picture, I mean, it's not bad. It's basically sitting right above that 10 EMA. Volume is getting quiet as it's consolidating here. So that's positive. Had a good move up. What I want to see, though, is it break this downtrend line. That would also clear some horizontal price resistance right around that 44,000 Satoshi level. And so got to watch that level on VeChain. If it does that, that would be good confirmation that the low is in, which I personally think it is. I think that was the low, but we got to see some confirmation there. And it's looking okay, just kind of living below that resistance right now, waiting for that breakout. And 0x. 0x, man, just continues to march higher. Again, another name I really like long term. Still holding this guy, but some volume coming in here today. Is probably a little overheated near term. You know what I like to say is be careful, don't chase things. But this is looking pretty good. And really the breakout was right here. I was watching it here, and this was the level to watch. Once it broke out, it just slowly started to move higher. Here we are seeing some acceleration near the top of the move. But, hey, can't complain. Still looking pretty good. A little bit extended near term. Probably needs a little bit of a pause or a break. But not bad. Let's see here. Smash those likes. Oh man, we got 195 likes now. Just for that, that's easily 10 more names. Let's keep going. Here, hold on. I'm gonna call in some Uber Eats, call in some food, some drinks. Oh wait, actually, found some coffee. I'm gonna drink this coffee. Hopefully, it's not like 4 days old coffee. It's pretty good. I did that one time. I had these old Starbucks cups on my desk, which I don't do anymore because it was gross. And I picked the wrong cup up, and it was apparently 2-day-old Starbucks with creamer in it, and was not a good scene. So needless to say, I throw out those damn cups when I'm done, because I don't want to accidentally pick one up. All right, let's keep going. So let's see, we did Tron. Let's go Strat, Wax, Zen. You know, I've been watching Zen. That's good. Them and them. Different Zen. Grind your own beans, man. I do grind my own beans, but you know, sometimes you're just like in a hurry to get out. All right. So let me see here. I'm scrolling through the list. ADX. I'll think about that one. I generally will watch some Dragon. Look at some Dragon. All right, cool. Let me hop over to CoinGate here and do some other names here. So we'll do the Dragon. I always do that. So looking at the Dragon, this one put in a pretty good low here a couple of weeks back. You can see it had that big volume pop and then confirmed. Nice little bit of a double bottom low. And it's looking like it wants to move higher. This is looking really nice here, actually. Nice bottoming pattern here forming on Dragon, starting to turn the corner. Finally clearing some resistance here on this little bit of a flag consolidation it was putting in. You can see off the low, there was a little bit of a bull flag that formed right there. And now it's just kind of slowly edging higher. Not really rallying big, but it looks like it's starting for the last few days. If you go to the 4-hour chart, just very strong volume coming in here. So I'm liking this one. Now, full disclosure, I do have some Dragon in my longer term holds. And full disclosure, I'm probably still down on this name, but it's not like it's a big weight of my portfolio. But hey, it's good to see it finally put in a little bit of a low and maybe finally clearing some resistance here on the Dragon. Stratus. I mean, Stratus was looking pretty good here. So I'll go into the 4-hour on Stratus. Nice little breakout we had here a couple hours ago. So good volume on the 4-hour bar there after this consolidation. You can see it had this little bit of ascending flag type of pattern here and looking nice. Just letting the moving averages catch up, gets real quiet, and pops above here.
On the big picture, though, let me clear the volume here because this is kind of distracting here. But in the big picture, it definitely looks like it's finally put in a low, and it's starting to test the next level of resistance there. That 64.3, 64.4. That's really the area that's going to go and test here next. But not bad. Stratus, if you're a fan of Stratus, that's good news. It looks like it's finally putting in a pretty good low here. Wax. Yeah, Wax has been on the tear lately. Look at that. How many green days in a row? Man, that's pretty good. Definitely feels a little bit overbought here, but has been one of the big winners here. If you go to put the volume back in there, but just strong volume, and you got to pay attention. Look at this is was giving you plenty of signs along the lows here. Big volume pop, big volume pop, big volume pop. All right, so let me lock that in here. And that is why I am such a proponent of volume, because it really gives you some of the clues there. And this one's looking good. It's definitely feeling a little bit overdone, but the momentum is very strong with this guy and getting close to clearing those highs here, the prior highs. So about 24, 25% away, but looking good. Zen. So this is a smaller name here that I've been watching. It's just kind of been accumulating very quietly, very slowly off the lows. They've got, what do they call them now? Super nodes on Zen, and you get rewards for staking and all that stuff. They got some things in development here, but what I'm watching here, kind of bigger picture, is it's approaching this old high here, and it's going to be interesting to see how it acts. It was a little bit overdone here near term. Looks like it's pausing just below that. Market cap value on this guy is kind of small here. Let me go to Zen. Still in the 120s. So if it's going to be a winner, it has plenty of room to run. So not bad. But I'm liking this one. I think it's just due for a little bit of a pause here. It kind of got a little overdone. I mean, this many green days in a row, eventually it's going to pause. And that's just a big move off the bottom. NEM. And NEM was looking pretty good here a couple of days ago. Pausing. Not bad. Was showing some life again off of the lows. NEM's a tough one, man. It's just so subject to swings and market and news and kind of all over the place here. But starting to make some traction here, looking pretty good. Just pausing right now. The volume patterns here over the last couple of days have been very healthy, though. That looks really strong. It looks like it's finally found a low. I mean, look at that nice little base it put in. Just got real quiet off the lows, very flat, and then just moving higher. Some good volume coming in here, but a little bit of a reversal day there. Use them in. It's not too bad. It's just more of a pause consolidation here, sitting tight again. So not bad. Could be setting up a good secondary entry point right now. And 8X, another one that's been moving. ADX, Ad Exchange. Let me go to the daily here. So maybe finally found a low. This is one I've been watching for a while, and good little bit of a double bottom there on the daily chart about a week and a half ago, and starting to see a ton of volume coming in here on the right-hand side. You can see this most recent action, just a lot of volume showing up here in recent days. So got to pay attention to this name. It's about to clear resistance here. Tested it earlier, pulled it right back in, but it's right below it right now. So if you zoom in, this level was that 9,500, call it 9,550. That's if we can start to close above that on the daily basis, that's going to be a good breakout. So looking good. A lot of volume coming in. This is a small cap name, so these can be a lot more volatile, and they move them quick when the volume comes in. What is this guy at? 55 million. Very much a small cap name. So we did EOS. Lumens, we've not done Lumens. How can I forget about the Stellar Lumens? It's been such a strong name as of late. And so Stellar, I did a little video here, and I was talking about Stellar sitting really quiet, really tight right there, and just had a good volume breakout. And look at how strong that's been. Man, not a red day yet. So very nice breakout, very nice move on Stellar. The official breakout, if you want to call it that, was right here, but the inside breakout within the base was right there. This was a really good power pivot move here on some of these on the lower term time frames. And so that's what I watch here. You can see on the 4 hour, just broke out, tested it, and seen some follow through, and looking good. A little bit overheated near term. So maybe we'll finally see a pause. I mean, it's just been that many green days in a row. After a while, odds favor it's going to at least pause, rest a little bit. So it's get cautious. I definitely don't chase those type of names, but it looks really good. Looks strong there. Lumens and EOS retrace, please. I know, right? Oh. Let's see here. So we did ZIL. We did still streaming. You're back. All right. Welcome back. You know, I did the stream extension because we just ended up getting so many extra likes. So I said, you know, I appreciate it, guys. And then I found some coffee too, so that helped. It's not warm anymore though. Let me open up another window here. I'm going to do something real quick. Find some more good names to look at. Poly. Yeah, I'll take a look at Poly. So we did Nano. We did Lumens. Let me do... I'm not done at Smart Cash. I'm going through my list. We did Wax, we did EOS, we did Sub, we did ZIL, we did NCASH, we did Tron. I'll put the first part of my list up. I've documented most of them. So like last time, if you missed it, I will post in the notes when I'm done here the order of names I went through, and then you guys can go back and check them out if you want to. So Power. No one asked about Power. Check it out. The Power ledger here has been very strong again. Look at how many multiple green days in a row that has been doing. Let me go to Power Binance here. It's a little bit more volume there, but just looking very nice, very strong off the lows. Has had a pretty good breakout from this consolidation here with some strong volume. Sitting tights right now. If you go to the 4 hour chart, just stair-stepping its way higher. You can see the trend, a series of higher lows is starting, and it's looking really good here. Now, it's starting to wane a little bit here in these last couple of bars. RSI is cooling off a little bit, but again, some of that is just probably the sell side action on BTC, but this is holding up well as long as this higher low holds. So you want to see kind of this thing holds right here. Not bad, but Power. WePower, yeah, let's look at WePower. That one's been another one that's been moving. So looking at WePower again, this one broke out into new high territory. You discount these couple bars and just very strong. Look at the volume on this guy. I mean, just really picking up some momentum here. A lot of volume here near the highs, so saw a lot of profit taking show up, and you're seeing a little bit of a pause now, bull flag. That hopefully will set up another base, a little bit of a secondary entry point, and set up for another leg higher. But if you go to the daily chart, just very strong action here. I'd like to see this thing pull back to maybe that 1450 level or so, and could set up a good entry. But WePower, what's the let me go to the market cap on this guy. $50 million, another small cap name. Plenty of room to run, in my opinion. Monero. No one asked about Monero. If you did, I apologize. Oh yeah, there's Monero. Okay, you did ask about Monero. All right, so looking at Monero, is Monero done? A lot of these names that have not participated with this last alt rally for the last 2 weeks, I'm watching these, right? So like Litecoin yesterday, you're seeing Monero here putting in a pretty good little bit of a double bottom versus BTC. And so I'm watching some of these. You might see some rotation into these names. If it clears that level there, 0.256, that's going to be a pretty good double bottom, and that would be confirmation on the upside. And so I'm liking Monero here. If you go to the 4 hour chart, near term, seeing some good buying volume starting to come in here. A little bit of a reversal right now as it tries to clear resistance. Near term, that's the kind of the lower resistance level right there, but it still looks pretty good. So looking at Monero, let's go Monero USD. Go on the Bitfinex here. So Monero USD, not bad. Good move off the low, sitting tight for about 4 or 5 days. And we'll want to see some follow through now. But been pretty quiet there. Let's see, we did Lisk. We did, let me go through my list here. I'm kind of cycling through some other names that if you mentioned, I missed, but I'm going through another list. So you guys wanted to look at Quantum. We'll do that one next. Populous. I don't know what drove that move, but Populous had a big move. We did Elf. We did Cardano. All right, let's do a couple more here. So PPT first. Big move off the low a couple of days ago. And sounds like you guys know, I didn't do any research into the Populous, so I don't know what drove that, if anything, but massive move off the low. Got on my radar and just popped. Didn't do anything with it, but definitely was like, what happened here? Just a big move off the low with Populous. And I know a lot of you guys like this one. So looks like it put in a very long, quiet base here at these lows. Look at that. I mean, just was basically sitting tight since March at the lows, found a very solid support area, and kind of gave a little bit of an early signal there, right on that day. If you move it over and take out those 2 days, right, that was kind of the early signal. Big volume, the biggest volume in the last several weeks, minus this bar, and seen some follow through and just another big volume day there. So looking pretty good. All right, let's go through IOTA, you said? IOTA, and hold on, comments are coming in. Coming in fast. Bcash. No one asked about Bcash. I got to say, man, look at Roger's Twitter stream, and it's like, just really puts you off, man. More and more, I'm like, been selling off all the Bcash. It's like, I don't like it anymore. Dang Bcash. I mean, I didn't have that much, but still, it's like. Anyway, let's not get into that. Let's just look at the charts here. All right, let me go through. What was the other ones on the list here? So I said Populous, IOTA. I didn't do Ripple. I did Tron, so I'll do that. I did Cardano and Stellar. I did Binance. I will probably cycle through that one, come back in, take a look at that one. We did WAN Chain. Vibe. I'll take a look at Vibe. Do that one. We did WePower. All right, cool. Let's keep going fast. So Populous. We did that. IOTA. The IOTA. So IOTA BNB. We did Verge. IOTA BNB, or BTC, not BNB. And then I'll do USD pair, but this one has been one of the big winners off the lows. If you look at the USD pair, it's up about 60% off the lows. Bottomed out around that 93 cent mark. And remember, I was saying, guys, that $1 area was going to be a key area of support, just because it was a long time floor here, and we undercut it slightly, but just quickly got back above, and then really started to move higher. Went as high as $1.67, so I had a very strong move before found a little bit of resistance, and now it's pausing. It's healthy consolidation right now. I just needed to. It was very extended in the short run and had a good move off the lows here a couple of weeks ago. You can see it just played catch up very quickly, and now it's just pausing, consolidating, letting this RSI cool off on the 4-hour, but it still looks good. It's just starting to make some higher lows and looking very strong here off the bottom. So IOTA, if it can hold above this 140 area or so, that's the level that I'm looking at for support. And then above that, the next level of resistance is going to be going into that $2 area on the IOTA USD pair. Now versus BTC, you can see this basically ran up to this resistance here, and that's where it's pausing, pulling back. It's got a little bit of ways to go on the downside and still be fine, right? It could come back 10% or so and still be okay. So that's what I'm watching, but it needs a break, but looks like it wants to go higher if we can clear that resistance there. Ripple. Oh yeah, Fun. Fun was the other one I was going to do. I'll put it on the list so I don't forget. Ripple, did Ripple finally find a low there? I'm gonna get real nervous if CNBC starts doing how to buy Ripple videos again. But yeah, so Ripple maybe found a low. It's not one I usually pay a whole lot of attention to. Again, I mean, I'll trade it from time to time. I don't hold it long term, but you can't argue with this strong volume here over the last couple of days. Again, this was in sympathy with the Bitcoin move off the low, and Ripple followed suit here. If you go to Ripple BTC, also moving, starting to outperform out here a little bit of a flag here, looking like it wants to break out. It paused right at this resistance here, and if I had to guess, I'm saying this one looks like it wants to go higher. That's going to be the level to watch on Ripple. A little bit of an ascending base here starting to form, so not bad. So what do you guys think? Are we in a new alt season? Or is this just a temporary couple-week bounce off the lows? Fun fair USD. I would call that a little bit of a double top. I'd start to get cautious here. You've seen some divergence, big volume selling there. Try to rally, couldn't get quite as high. RSI is really started to lose some momentum on this guy on the USD pair versus BTC. Not as bad, but again, seen some selling showing up here on this guy at the lows. Looks like it just wants to pause, maybe sit tight for a little bit on the 1 hours. You know, just such a low volume name. It's just hard to say on these guys. Let me go to fun on Binance. Yeah, it's just pausing. I'd be waiting to see if this thing can clear this broader downtrend right now. We get the bounce. I think it's a new alt season. All right, going to do a few more, guys, and then we'll wrap it up. But thank you for being here. Thank you for hitting that like button, and appreciate you guys, your comments, your inputs. Even the people that don't appreciate me, I appreciate your comments. Let's see here. Vibe is looking pretty good here. Nice series of higher lows coming in here. This red bar had this big wick, but that's a support bar. I mean, just came all the way down here. A lot of volume showed up. So a lot of buyers showed up here. It looks like this 26 EMA has been a pretty good support line on the 4-hour chart on the daily. Finally turning the corner here. Looking like it may have found a low and looking pretty decent. So you just feel ignored. All right. I'm kind of sorry, I'm reading. It's like reading comments, charts at the same time. It's all good. You can tell I'm getting tired. It's been a while since I did a 2-hour live stream. All right, yeah, let's cover some of the big names here. I know some of you guys have just joined and some of you guys are joining late, so let's rehash a few of the big names, some of the key ones that we're watching here. So Bitcoin, of course. So looking at Bitcoin, let me step back first, kind of do the big picture on the BTC side. I mentioned this downtrend is still not broken, right? That's the level to be watching here over the next couple of days to a week or so to see if we can rally above that. That would be a significant move. That would be very positive action and would really start to change the momentum that we've seen here. We've seen this series of lower highs so far. And so getting above that, right? This was step one, is this big volume move off the lows. Yes, you could call maybe that was a little bit of a short squeeze, but that is coming off of a period of consolidation, accumulation. Some support was being established there around that $6,600 mark. And then we had the big volume pop to the upside. And keep in mind that during this time, the altcoins were really rallying. And that was one of the clues I was looking for. I said, if the market looks like it's going to start to hit a bottom, I expected the altcoins to lead the way and start to move before Bitcoin bottomed out and moved higher. That's what we saw. So it's playing out, which continues to lead me to lean bullish. And we're seeing a little bit of a normal pause, normal pullback here following the strong move and right below resistance. And so we want to see it hold this level here, right? This $7,700 down to around 7,400. A break below 7,400 would be negative, as I would just kind of start to negate this whole up move. But the altcoin, the way the market's reacting there just leads me to believe that things have turned the corner. And As I mentioned a few weeks ago, I thought the altcoins had bottomed versus BTC, and we're starting to see confirmation of that now. But above this, right, the first level, of course, is going to be this near-term resistance. This trend line, though, 8,600, and then getting above this horizontal price resistance, 9K. If it can clear that, that would be very positive. Would really start to shift the momentum. I think at that point, you're going to start to see more bears capitulate and say, okay, that was probably the low. And that would also start to roll into the weekly chart, which has not yet confirmed either. Still living below the 10 EMA on the weekly. But remember what I said, if things are going to remain bullish, RSI bottoms at 40. Everyone keeps expecting this weekly chart to bottom out, at 30 or below. But if this is bullish and hold, then it's going to bottom out here at this level. But we got to see this thing break out and continue higher. I did that video a few weeks back talking about why I think Bitcoin would bottom out in April. And my thesis there was everyone thinks we're repeating a 2014 type of cycle. Now, and I know every market's different. That was Mt. Gox. So definitely not a mature market like we have today. I get all that. But everyone thought we're going to be this 2-year-long bear markets, repeating 2014 type action, going to drop 90% and all that good stuff. And in that video, I talked about what if we see something similar to 2013 where we did have a 60-70% pullback, and that was followed by a very large rise after that. And so I did some ratios, some math to show that, and I showed you guys that I expected BTC to bottom before April 23rd, and if it broke out, and we'd be at new highs before the end of the year. So that'd be interesting to see if that plays out. I'm still leaning bullish, but we got to see this weekly chart turn. Definitely has not turned yet. So I am holding long. I'm adding more longs. I'm going heavier in the alts, but always being mindful that we've not fully confirmed yet. But I'm not going to wait until we confirm, because by that point, right, it's going to be like 9K, 10K. So that's why I started getting in early. All right. So we did Litecoin. Well, let me go through some of the big names. So that's what I'm looking at near term. Of course, the little bit of a head and shoulder that people are watching, kind of playing out a little bit. If it breaks below this neckline, then this projects down to around 7,400, which is also where I was saying the next level of support is. So in and around here, if it dips this low, would still be okay. Going to Litecoin, and then we'll do F. So Litecoin versus BTC, I like the fact that it's put in this little bit of a double bottom. Now it's moving higher, seeing some volume come in. I'm thinking Litecoin's finally going to play some catch up versus BTC and some of these other alts. So you saw some very strong volume yesterday. It's pausing right now. It needs to pause, let this moving average catch up again, but it's looking pretty good. Litecoin on the USD side also broke out. I want to see it hold above this 132 level. And if BTC can hold up here, this will look like it's going to go higher. Next level I'm watching on Litecoin, if this thing continues higher, is that 150s to 180s mark. So that's going to be the next window that I'm watching on Litecoin. F, very strong still, just pausing right now. Needed that pause, but this looks really good. I mean, just versus BTC was one of the stronger names of the big three, and just putting a nice ascending triangle pattern here, looking like it's setting up again. So if this continues to hold, just keep an eye on F there, but it's looking very good. It was definitely leading the way up on some of these other names. But versus USD, it's also sitting tight here. Similar looking chart versus BTC, just because it's sitting flat versus Bitcoin here. But I'm liking the way it's setting up on the BTC chart. All right, so let me see here. What else here? Let me cycle through a couple of more, and I will likely have to wrap it up in the next 5 minutes. You're going to need a drink after this 2 hours of this, huh? You and me both. And maybe some food. I'm going to need some food after this. Smart Cash. No, I didn't look at Smart Cash. Let me see what the market cap is first. All these names that just kind of have those random pumps. I don't know. 134 million. Wow. Is this like a Bittrex only type thing, or where else is this? Oh man, no. Yeah, I don't know. That's a that's a full retracement. Good grief. All right. Let's pick a couple of more and we'll keep going. So we didn't do Golem. How's Golem doing these days after that big move it had? So looking at Golem USD, not bad. It's almost looking like it's maybe setting up a little bit of a bull flag. Pause after that big run it had last week. Sitting tight here. Golem BTC also looking good. Can't argue with that volume. That's some strong volume off the lows, and it's been a long time coming. I mean, if you look at Golem from last year, just way off the low, off the highs here, just had that slow grind. Kind of had a little bit of action late last year, but so did everything. And then now seen some very strong volume off the lows once the announcement of their network. So, all right, we'll do some BCH. I know you guys want to see some Bcash here, so let's do that. Bitcoin Cash has definitely been lagging a little bit. If you look at the Bitcoin Cash BTC chart, has not participated a whole lot with the rest of this alt market. Just basically has been flat versus BTC for the last 2-3 weeks here. And so maybe it's found a low. The level to watch here near term, if it can clear above this, maybe it'll start to gain some momentum. But hey, this is just going to have a lot of resistance along the way up. And so, it's just not one of my favorite ones right now. Cool, you just made some fresh coffee. I'm wearing you guys out. Man, you guys should be wearing. All right, let's see here. Oh, NEO. So we covered NEO earlier, but I like NEO. It just had that big run up. I think it's just pausing, consolidating here off the lows a little bit. If you go to the BTC chart, though, it's setting up. I mean, this is looking nice. A little bit of an ascending triangle type of pattern. If you go to the 4-hour, it's looking okay here. So I've been watching this one. I'm looking at NEO, see if we could clear out above this with some decent volume, but it's looking pretty good. NEO. Poly. All right, we'll do some Poly. Polymath, they got added to Bittrex here, but has more history on KuCoin. So if you go to the KuCoin charts and look at the daily there, had that big move on the Bittrex announcement day. Ton of volume came in, pausing. Basically has retraced that entire move, but it's definitely holding a little bit of a low here. So maybe that's the low for Poly. I don't know what that translates to. 50 cents maybe? 30 cents? 40 cents on Poly. And so I think it bottomed out around 30, about 31 cents. So we'll see if that one can finally put in a low and start to gain some upside traction here, but it looks like it's trying to. ARDR has been on the move lately with that guy. And so some interesting action here. I don't know what it's very unusual to see gaps in the charts on crypto, but it had that big move. Definitely putting in the low. Some good volumes coming in the last 3 days. So don't listen one closely. So I'm not sure if there's anything specific driving this, but look at that move off the low there. And seeing some good volume starting to come in. Okay. All right. So I'm going to just reading some of the notes, see if I can answer any questions, non-chart questions here. But I think we're going to wrap this up, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for hitting that like button. Thanks for watching. I appreciate you guys joining on this midweek. Is it midweek? Maybe. Not really. Midweek live stream. But man, we went through a lot of charts today, guys, so that's good. Glad to be here. And in all, I just really like the action in the altcoin market. I mean, across the board, right? For a while, we were seeing some rallies, but it was just very sporadic. One name here, two names there, but clearly it's across the board now. Over the last couple of weeks, we've just seen some very strong action, and I'm liking that. It looks good now. Caution must remain because, like I said, Bitcoin hasn't officially broken out. It looks like it wants to, but it hasn't, and it needs to turn the corner there on the downtrend. I think if it does that, you'll see a lot more confidence really start to come into the market. Most of these alts, though, just retraced the vast majority of their move that they had. Even they were down 60, 70, 80% versus Bitcoin, and that's considering Bitcoin was down so much from the highs. And so will we go straight back to the January highs? Not right away, right? It's going to have to stair step, but some of them have already, right? Some of them are testing old highs. And so across the board, it'd be nice if it could just maybe pause for a little bit, but we're still seeing breakouts. We're still seeing setups, and I think we'll continue to see some of that rotation. Some names will pause, the other ones will start to run, but all around, it's looking really good, really strong. My style has switched a little bit on my trading. For a while, I was quicker trades, getting in and out, get the 10% moves. Now I'm holding a little longer, a little bit more of a swing trade style, which I prefer anyway. But always got to watch Bitcoin because Bitcoin just has that much influence. But all right, well, that's going to be it for today, guys. Appreciate y'all watching. I will check you guys out on the next one. Hit that like, subscribe if you don't already. Get my alerts. Till next time, take care, everyone.